Welcome to Burning Questions. It's a podcast from 500 Degrees. You know us. We are a content development and fulfillment shop. We've got offices in Toronto, Miami, Columbus, Ohio. We work with great global clients, Burger King, Tim Hortons, Firehouse Subs, and Popeyes. We've got clients in the convenience store business, and we've got new clients in the automotive space. So we're excited about that. And one of the joys that I have working at global scale, obviously, humble brag, is running across incredible people, thought leaders, vendors, associates, you name it. And we thought, wouldn't it be great to sort of bring that to life for other people that may not have exposure to it? So our guest list is great, inclusive of Sean Halter. Welcome, Sean.
Something's burning. I guess we're going to figure out what that is, Matt. See if we can't salve the burn.
Sean, we've worked together for a number of years, and you're a serial entrepreneur. You started a company called Connectivity Holdings, great media company out of Tampa, plus Connects, which is another entrepreneurial startup of yours, plus MiO Marketplace, which we'll get to a little bit later, which is an innovative marketplace for sponsorships and remnants, but I wouldn't call it remnants. I would call it just short-term opportunities that people need to buy into.
Matt, nobody can explain it better than me. If you'll give me 12 seconds to do my quick elevator pitch, you're right. Connectivity, great media agency strategy. We own a company called Uconnects, which deals in the biddable media space. Anything that's biddable media. They actually own the trademark True Transparency in the space. They do an add-on to the CPM. If you need to see it on the trade desk, you know who to call, hit me up in my DMs. And then MiO, I appreciate the description. MiO was a tool set we needed as an agency. There were a lot of things that agencies don't have and in-house brand teams don't have. And we felt there was a need for that. Even though the world's become incredibly digital with programmatic media, there's always interesting opportunities out there. And so we built that out. We've actually added a couple of new features to it really in the last year. One of my favorites is one that's in the brand space. It's called the brand portal. And literally any brand, any manager, any VP, anybody that sits in a marketing position can jump in the platform. It's completely free to use. They don't even need to sign up. They click on the brand portal and they can type in whatever the pain point is. A lot of the stuff that you're going to cover on this podcast, pain points, we all have them. And we help them find a solution to that with our 14,000 person network. That's my pitch. I'm all done. What else can I tell you about marketing?
Well, marketing, I want to talk about your podcast too, CMO Suites, because your book is available on Amazon, my man.
That's true.
That's pretty impressive. You've had over 140, 150 interviews with CMOs, and you've paired them with drink recipes, brownie recipes, and this is an incredible list of CMOs. How did you pair these people up with their food product, or did they suggest them?
So it's a great question. I started that podcast. It's called the CMO Suite. You can go to thecmosuite.com. I started about 6 years ago. I do 2 seasons a year of about 15 episodes. And as a marketer, whether you're in Austin or you're in Oklahoma or you're in Tampa, you want to learn from the best. You want to learn from from those that are leading this industry. And I just had one of my creative directors just say, you should build one, just like you're doing right now, which I've been pushing you to do for years. I found it to be a great opportunity to not only learn some insights from some of those marketers, but to also realize, look, we're all in this business. Whether you're a Fernando Machado, who's considered one of the best, to the new CMO for Hungry Howie's Pizza or whatever it is, we all want to do good work. We all want to try to stay ahead of this game, which is changing so incredibly fast. And the podcast gave me an opportunity to be able to start some of those conversations. I'd be remiss not to do a specific shout out for Casey Herbis, who is the CMO over at Rocket Mortgage, because he was one of the first really big names who said, sure, I'll jump on. And I've had, as you said, over 150 since then. Cleverly enough, I decided I wanted to put out a book. And I thought, well, gosh, people don't really care what I have to say, but they do care what these other marketers have to say. I had all this really great content. And so my ex-wife, who's an amazing human, came up with the idea, because our son is at the Culinary Institute of America and he's a baker and chef, to do a play on words. So we decided to kind of mix this, CMO Suites, recipes for marketing success. We took all the marketers, we sent them all a note letting them know we were putting out the book. We gave them a chance to be able to pick, a favorite drink recipe, to your point, favorite food recipe. A lot of them responded back, which was great. We included those in there. And then for those that didn't, we picked something that we thought would really be a good fit for them. And the book was absolutely fantastic. Tons and tons of fun. Again, for any of your listeners who've thought about putting out a book, they're not really sure about the process, I'm always happy to answer questions. I actually just answered a couple this morning for, again, a friend of mine on a call, Tom Morrissey, who's been kicking around the idea of doing a book for a little while. Gave him hopefully what I felt like was some great advice and really a lot of fun. Anybody that I can help, whether it's from podcasting or books, I'm always a good resource
I
for that.
love the fact that you put your kids in the, they're not kids, they're adults. They're pictured at a diner somewhere, good looking group of kids, but touch a class for Papa. So
They both got to work on the book too, which was pretty cool. My son, as I said, is a chef or a baker, so he got to pick a bunch of the recipes out, help me match those up for those we needed to match. And my daughter helped with a bunch of the creative inside the book as well as my creative team. So really was a labor of love. Look, at the end of the day, we all want to give back. We all want to do what's right for our kids. We all want to be able to have a name that at the end of the day we leave a little bit of legacy. Hopefully, for me with a platform like MiO, that's my shot. It touches everything I've ever done, whether it's been working on a brand when I first got in this industry, working in the media side, when I worked for both Clear Channel and iHeart and all of those selling media, to then building, to your point, my agency. That while again I don't run it day to day, I'm still involved in trying to help ensure that clients get what's best out there for them. This has been my chance to hopefully do just that, leave something behind.
well, you're Mr. Hustle. And I think having this reservoir of knowledge about CMOs, what I found interesting is that when you feature the CMO, you have where they were when you interviewed them and where they are now. So I'm going to bridge into a question about, the old adage that the average tenure for today's CMO is about 18 months. Are you still seeing that? And second part of that question is, what is the makeup of the CMO of the future? And I'll just let you rip on that.
Well, both those points I think actually kind of blend together because, I do think there's still a lot of turnover in the space because it's tricky. You get it from both sides. You get it from, the high C level down of like, look, we don't want to spend money to build brands. We need to, show sales. You get it from the other end up, which is at the local level. Hey, I need somebody's coming in the store. They don't know us from anybody else. Why in the world would they buy us, or why would they go on Amazon and buy us? So it's definitely evolving and changing. You know, I think what's starting to happen is some titles are starting to change a little bit as well. And then, I even just touched on it a little bit. 6 years ago, Amazon was around, but you didn't have these other 25, retail media networks out there. And if I'm a chief marketing officer, if I'm a VP of marketing, if I'm chief growth officer, whatever that is, ultimately we're there to do the same thing, which is to help people put our brand in the intender set, right? They're thinking of buying something, at least consider us in that consideration set, and then hopefully, provide the value that needs to be able to push the sale. And I think most CMOs, regardless of their age, are trying to navigate that level of complexity. I don't know that anybody knows it perfectly right now because it is changing pretty quickly. It wasn't that many years ago. You had a budget, you could buy some TV if you needed, to really build some mass. You could run newspaper. Who remembers what that is? A little bit of radio, and maybe you threw a little money in digital. It's all changed. I think one of the biggest things I'm hearing more recently, probably now than ever this year, Matt, as we talk to more of those CMOs, is wrapped around social. It used to be the brand wanted to just run organic social and maybe a little bit of paid, or they were hoping to get it for free. It has to lead the charge these days. It just has to be there. So, I do feel like we get more and more questions around, are we doing our social right? Do we understand it? Can we figure out the value? Where does TikTok come to play in that versus the other platforms that are out there? And how can we maximize those opportunities along with connected TV and OTT, which has changed the TV landscape entirely. At the same time, while our CEO may be in their 50s or 60s and doesn't understand how to work a smart TV, like how do I do all of that? Those are the challenges I feel like we see, and I feel like there's some that are up for the charge, and then there's others that are, probably trying to ride it out and see if they can just retire before this continues to evolve.
let's talk about the generational gap just for a moment, particularly with TikTok. On one hand, you've got the forces of the government that are saying we're going to stop TikTok. Yet you're also talking about a platform that's got what 130 million US daily users. My facts could be incorrect, widely wrong, but it's over 100 million. You can't stop that, can you?
I mean, it's tricky. I don't know. We could spend probably the whole rest of this half hour talking about government regulation and how it works. They brought something of value to the table. People didn't necessarily want what they were getting from Meta, from Facebook, or from Instagram. YouTube kind of wasn't really in that space. And they found a foothold in a way that Snapchat maybe kind of didn't quite get to. And I don't know how you roll all that back. I don't know if you need to roll all that back. I don't know that whether it's owned by China or a U.S. subsidiary of somebody else who then knows somebody else, you still have some pretty powerful men sitting at the top of two of the largest US based social platforms in both Twitter, now known as X, and in Meta. And I don't know that I feel any more safe or less safe than I
Yeah,
do when I'm on TikTok. And
right.
who knows?
Using your job. We talked with Davis and Gilbert, which, arguably are the best uh, legal team on the planet when it comes to advertising and marketing services. And we got really deep onto the AI side in terms of enforcement, how agencies need to protect themselves, protect their clients. But we went down a thread associated with the political landscape right now in terms of the fact that politicians, you don't see people, they do the fact checking wars, but there are no lawsuits that come out of this. And so when you have AI with the ability to texture map perfect lips, perfect voice signatures and timestamps, how are we going to know what's real or what's not?
It's happening. So you can't put that genie back in the bottle to some extent. I think there will be some areas of self-regulation. My daughter's in, graphic design school. She's concerned about, is she still going to have a job when she graduates to some extent. I think we always, no matter how much we automate something, we do always want some area of kind of that personalized nature of things. I think what I personally am most excited about is some incorporation of both AI and ChatGPT into platforms like Siri, where, again, Siri's, for as old as it is, it's kind of useless. I use it to kind of, play this song for me or do that, but it doesn't take much of my dwell time or spend time at all. But if I could look down at my phone, if I could change Siri's name to whatever name I want to, call it, maybe again they create some block lists for that. But if I could look down, see something that looks like a real human, and just say, "Gosh, my girlfriend and I want to do something fun tonight. Like, what's cool? Like in real language. If I could use real language
Yeah.
and see somebody that looks real, like a concierge, like maybe there's something bad with that. I don't know what it is, but that's what I'm kind of
The
looking
new
forward
bot,
to.
the new chat
Yeah,
bot. Yeah, I would
yeah.
I would gravitate to it. You had mentioned X. What would you do? They're frustrated because they don't have enough content creators on the site. Do you think it's the platform itself, or do you think people are staying away from it politically? Because I wanted to get your take on it.
I think there's a couple of things. First of all, we're very visual people, and I think TikTok has taken huge advantage of that. I think Facebook kind of fell into this space where it was a good place to go and bitch about stuff that you were unhappy with, or what your neighbor was doing, or look at your old girlfriend from high school, or your old boyfriend from high school, whatever it is. They hit on a little something with Instagram because it is so visual in nature, but you lose, you obviously they've tried to add reels in there to create a little bit of that level of replacement. You miss some of the fun of that. I think Vine didn't stick around long enough for the older generation to take place, and that's not unusual with any kind of social media. So I think what happens is whatever you launch, the younger generation is who wants to gravitate to because they don't want to be on a social platform where their parents are. That's lame. And then it ages up. Every social platform is like a nightclub. It always ages up. And from my perspective, maybe Twitter has not only aged up, but they've aged out of their potential usefulness. My kids aren't on Twitter. They're not kids anymore. They're 20. They'll never be on that platform. It's not even related to political for them. It's just not, they have no interest in reading something when they can visualize great pieces of content. And TikTok has really, really dialed in to that.
That's awesome. The let's go back to MiO for a bit because I
Sure.
want to focus in on the general ideas behind advertising and media platforms and availability. So it depends on the tenor of the CMO in terms of, are they a DSP, are they a social, are they a data wonk? What's their personality? Because they were obviously hired by a board and a CEO that says, we need this particular hole filled. But at the end of the day, there has to be an opportunity for very special, very curated media opportunities that either present a value or something new and fresh. And that's the kind of the thinking and the profile that I get from MiO is the ability to open source some of those opportunities that may not come across a CEO's desk, a CMO's desk, or a media planner's desk in this whole fraught industry of numbers, DSPs, algorithms, optimization. Talk a little bit about some of the fresh that you bring.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, look, we all want to make this process easier. I think especially as we've added this brand, portal into the platform with the ability for brands to be able to, auto generate very customized briefs, RFPs, or opportunities, because that's where a lot of brands spend a ton of their time just writing something like that. We once we launched it, we pretty early on picked up, a nice collection of people that are like, man, I've been trying to get to this,
Yeah.
for 2 months, and
Yeah.
I don't really know where to start, and I don't want to go and like download a template. I don't know what to do. Look, ChatGPT is already there. What you really need to know is the prompts and to be able to navigate your way through that. And so, you know, continuing to evolve MiO to now allow that into this kind of headspace. I think our goal again is to try to make this entire process easier. The brands still control the money. That's where the money sits. It sits at the top, and they need to be smart shepherds of that. They end up hiring the agencies, and the agencies end up needing the media providers. And so the one part we probably missed in some of our early development was again that brand part of it. We're glad that we have it in there now, and I guess our hope is that it becomes more and more that kind of sandbox again, where a brand marketer, if really easy words, can just say, this is what I need. How do I get there? They don't want to look through 30 RFPs. They need to look through 3 or 4 or 5. And there's plenty of great consulting groups out there that can do that. They do it well. You can pay them a nice fee. They'll do absolutely amazing, amazing work in that space. But there's also a lot of people that, it sounds like it's a simple need. There's probably a potential simple solution. On the agency side, again, it gives them a chance to not only be in the platform for some of those ideas that could be fun or interesting on the media side, but also gives them a chance to create some lead gen for themselves. And every agency does. They're out there paying for lead gen. They want to be able to find the right clients. They want to be able to continue to build their business. There are plenty of those kinds of opportunities out there. We just haven't seen anybody really bring all of that into one place. We feel like that's what we're achieving with MiO.
Where can we find you? Where can
Oh
people go who
gosh,
are interested?
yeah, there's a few things. So one, obviously, you can go to MioMarketplace.com. It's right there. It's super simple. You'll see our mascot, which is Mio the Mule. We like to use him because we say even though he's an ass, he does all the heavy lifting, and that's true. That's the goal of us, right? Is to make the process simpler. And then for me, I'm at Sean Halter, over on LinkedIn. Literally just type in my name. I'm a heavy, heavy content user. I don't do a ton of AI, although again, that's obviously an option in that space, and LinkedIn's making that easier. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I tend to like to have my content feel very personal in its nature. And I put out a lot of different kinds of content, whether it's again posting, reposting for something that I think that's interesting out in the marketplace, whether it's through one or some of my podcasts. I do 3 of them. You can find those over at marketingcasts.com. One is the CMO Suite. My newest one is Face of Marketing, and then we've got a new one kind of launching in the summer, which is called the Digital Fix, which will be all wrapped around digital marketing and kind of fixing the pieces of that. So easiest way to find me, you can always slide into my direct messages and hit me up there.
Where is your daughter going to intern for graphic design?
That's a dang good question. I can't even pay her to do some of our work sometimes. She's pretty lucky in that she got basically a full ride. We do live here in Florida. They do have something called Bright Futures. If you get good grades and you do a
Yeah.
lot of volunteer work and you keep track of everything, they'll pay for your school. So she's had I was going to call it the luxury. It's not a luxury. It was work hard done on her part. She has the blessing to have kind of a full ride at school, and an apartment up there with some of the money that we save for them for college. And we'll see. I don't know.
I'm
She does a
thinking
lot of
500
volunteer stuff.
degrees.
It'd be fantastic. I'd love to send her your way.
Please, we can have her on photo shoots in the summer. We do
Yeah.
probably a photo shoot every single week. We're going to open up a studio up in Hialeah, Florida, for our video and photography production. But dude, scholarship, it's available for. We'd love to participate. We always love to bring new people into the fold. So
Always
always
appreciate
looking for
that.
talent. That's going to be it for us, and appreciate your time and energy today. This is the burning questions that we've been asking Sean Halter. And if you want to learn more about us, go to weare500degrees.com or to any of the cool places where you find marketing podcasts. And thank you for joining us, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you for having me on the podcast.